This video is about urinary tract infections, but I don't want to do the same thing that everyone else online seems to do. I'm not going to put up a couple of suggestions or health tips for what to do if you happen to get a urinary tract infection. I want to talk about what steps people need to take to stop getting urinary tract infections to begin with. Because this is out of control for some people. This is the scenario that you see. Someone gets a urinary tract infection, so they run to their doctor for antibiotics. And the antibiotics seem to help. The infection seems to go away. They think they're better. So they're going around without a UTI. Their doctor's like, oh, you're fine now. And then a couple months later, they get another urinary tract infection. So they run back to their doctor for more antibiotics. Again, it seems to work. Their infection seems to go away. And then a couple months later, their infection comes back. And there are people where this happens to them over and over again. It seems like they can go through this scenario like dozens of times, and it doesn't stop. So what I say to my clients is, if antibiotics actually cure the infection, then why does it keep on coming back? And then we have to look at the long-term effects of the antibiotics, and that is they weaken the immune system. When you take the antibiotics, it knocks out a bunch of beneficial flora, so your immune system is weaker, which makes it, if anything, more likely that you're going to get another urinary tract infection. So, yeah, short-term, the antibiotics make things better. Long-term, it's not a solution. Long-term, they're just going to make you sicker. And I know people think, oh, if they just take some probiotics, they're going to be fine. It's best to avoid the antibiotics if you don't need them. Because each time you take them, it kills more good flora in the gut, but it reduces the diversity or the different types of good flora you have. And you're not going to completely restore that by taking probiotics. When it comes to natural treatment, we kind of have two parts to this. There's what do you do if you have a current infection, and then there's prevention. If someone actually has a current urinary tract infection, then what you do is going to depend upon the severity of the symptoms. I'm not here to say never use antibiotics or you don't need them. The fact of the matter is that if someone has an active infection and you go to someone in natural health for treatment, the last thing that person in natural health really wants is the legal responsibility of your urinary tract infection. They don't want to say something which should be right, and then if something goes wrong, they're at fault. So a lot of times people are just going to be pushed into getting antibiotics anyway. Have I seen herbs work? Yeah, I've seen them work. I've seen people with UTIs use herbs and the urinary tract infections go away fine without them using antibiotics. But I'm not going to start flinging protocols online because, first of all, any protocol I would give would be completely individualized for that person. The second thing is I don't want someone who really needs antibiotics to go take some protocol that I said and then blame me. So you get to part of this is a legal thing, but also there's a dose thing. Like, if you get a urinary tract infection and you want to treat it with herbs naturally, you need to take high quantity of herbs quickly. You can't be like, oh, I think I'm getting a urinary tract infection, and then 3 days later, go start the herbs. Because the herbs are not antibiotics. And if something is getting out of control, the antibiotics are probably going to do a much better job at taking care of it right away. But one of the things I try to do with my clients is give them something to have on hand, so if they think they're getting a urinary tract infection, they can start the herbs right away, and then maybe they can avoid antibiotics. But the real thing I want to do in natural health besides acute treatment is prevention. Because if we can get people out of this scenario of infection, antibiotic, you're going to do a lot for the immune system. Besides just not having more UTIs anymore, you're going to prevent other illnesses because you're going to preserve your immune system function. I want to move beyond the basics. What I can't stand about the natural healthcare industry with all these, supplement companies selling all these things is that they're trying to just make money by replacing drugs with supplements instead of actually helping people get better. So something like Cranberry and D-Mannose, and D-Mannose is a component in cranberry, is it makes the urinary tract more slippery so that bacteria can't stick to it. So you're less likely to get a urinary tract infection. I'm not against these. In certain situations, they're definitely helpful. However, this isn't working on the deep underlying causes of your chronic urinary tract infections. This is basically saying whatever systemic issues you have that's leading you to get infections, don't bother about that. Don't worry about treating it. Don't worry about trying to get healthy. Just take this. Again, there are certain situations where this is fine, but this, to me, is not a comprehensive natural health plan for repeated urinary tract infections. And then we get products like this. This one's from Designs for Health, and I'm not recommending it. I'm not recommending it. I'm just showing what type of things supplement companies put together, what type of basic treatments you might get if you're going to see someone with an acute infection. And what they basically do is throw in a mix of different herbs or supplements for the urinary tract. So they have some D-Mannose, which makes the urinary tract a little more slippery. Although if someone has an acute UTI, I'm really more interested in getting rid of that acutely than D-Mannose, which is more of a long-term preventative. It has like bearberry in it, and nettle and hibiscus. Some of these are antimicrobial herbs like bearberry, which on average in general, if I don't know anything about someone, but the only thing I know is they have a UTI, bearberry is a really good herb to take. It doesn't make it specific for people, but I mean, it's a good general one. So they mix in some diuretic herbs like the horsetail and the parsley with some antimicrobial stuff like bearberry and hibiscus. And here's your antimicrobial formula. So if you think you're getting a UTI, you can use this instead of your antibiotic, and that's supposed to be a natural treatment plan. Well, it is a natural treatment plan, but is this really holistic? Well, it's okay to do that if you're getting an infection, and you can take these things and it's going to make the infection stop. That's fine. I'm not against this, but I just want to point out the fact that getting a bottle of UT Synergy and holding on to that for in case you get a urinary tract infection is not actually improving your health in a deep level. It's just simply using UT Synergy instead of antibiotics. Now, this is better than antibiotics if this will work instead, because it's not going to wipe out your flora, it's not going to impair your immune system, but it's still not really getting to anything on a deep level. It's not answering the question of why are you getting these UTIs to begin with. One of the things we need to consider is that organisms such as E. coli, Enterococcus, Klebsiella pneumoniae, they cause UTIs, but these guys are in the digestive tract. Now what happens is they leave the digestive tract and they go into the urinary tract, and that's where they cause the infections. So one of the things you want to do if you keep on getting these recurring UTIs is to work on gut health. Probiotics help. I think probiotics are great, but I can't stand is this notion that so many people have that they're going to probiotic their way to health, or that they're going to normalize the gut flora by taking lots of probiotics, or that there's this special probiotic that's just great for everyone. Probiotics aren't that. They're a good help, and they work, and people should use them, but they're not the cure-all. A lot of times I'll see prebiotics work better, actually. Sometimes I'll give a mix. Isopathics I'm going to talk about a little bit later. Dietary changes, of course, should be made. Like most of the people commenting to me, they've already made the dietary changes. But if you're getting UTIs, then having a bunch of things that are going to feed bad bacteria, like eating lots of sugar and dairy, probably not a good thing to do. Herbal medicine, we're going to get into that a little more later for digestion as well. You want to do more than just take lots of antimicrobial herbs. And I see that a lot. People really just take fistfuls of anything herbal that's supposed to be antimicrobial. And then we want to improve the integrity of the gut wall, because you have this crossover between the digestive system and the urinary system. So if someone has lots of allergies, poor digestion, you want to improve that. That so-called leaky gut syndrome, or hyperpermeability of the gut membrane. If something like that's going on, you want to work on it. But besides the gut, we want to look at the whole body. So there's something called homotoxicology. I have videos about that. I have pages on my website about it. I wish more people would watch those. If you find this interesting, please look at my stuff on homotoxicology. But it's the idea that when toxins come into the body, first the body tries to excrete them. If the body can't excrete them, it's going to store them places. And then it's kind of like the body doesn't get infected. It's not that we catch bacterial infections, but it's like toxins come in, they poison the environment, and that environment allows bacteria to live. And then the bacteria come inside of us and they eat up the toxins, and then it becomes expunged from us in the infectious process, especially if you see anything like pus, for example. So it's kind of like the bacteria are our friends. They are working synergistically with us. They eat toxins, and our body gets rid of it. So the real problem isn't the bacteria. Like, if you think you're getting UTIs because bacteria are just attacking you, you're wrong. If the problem was bacteria just randomly attack people and getting UTIs, then the chance of one person or another getting a UTI would just be about equal. We all have equal chances of getting randomly attacked by bacteria. There's a reason why one person gets them over and over again and another person doesn't. That's because the person who gets the UTIs over and over again, their body is giving the bacteria an environment to live in. So you need to change that environment. And toxicity is something that can lead to it, especially if you understand this theory of homotoxicology. So based upon individual assessment, if someone comes into me and they have chronic urinary tract infections, maybe for one of them I'll work on the gut, but for another person, maybe they need to do more for detoxification. And also in homotoxicology, there's an association between the upper respiratory area and urinary tract infections. So I see that a lot, where people who have UTIs all the time, maybe now where they used to have a lot of upper respiratory problems, whether it's a dental thing or they had tonsil issues, they keep on getting colds, all that. It's like the immune system is struggling, so it's trying to expunge things from their upper respiratory system, and then when that doesn't work, it's kind of like then the body might use the urinary tract. That's how it's explained in homotoxicology. But the point is, you want to look at the whole body. And if you're getting UTIs or whatever, I don't care what illness someone has when they come in to see me, I'm going to go over the case and look at everything. And if I see weakness one place, someplace else, I'm going to go after that because I know a weakness one area of the body can affect the whole body. So then when you're looking at the whole body, you're treating the whole body, then you're being truly holistic. Running out and buying some herbs because you heard that they're good for UTIs, I'm sorry, that's not holistic health. That's, using herbs instead of antibiotics. That's basically conventional medicine with plants. I don't do this with everyone, but one consideration with something like chronic UTIs would be what's called biotherapeutic drainage, and that's different, actually compound homeopathics, which are designed to stimulate the drainage or detoxification of toxins that get stuck in the body. So one company I use, Pecana, they have their product Accutur, which is a compound homeopathic for urinary tract infections. And this works really good for acute infections. I've seen people take this and they're like, oh, my symptoms went away. But if someone has chronic infections, I'm not just going to be like, take this for the UTIs. There's other ones, such as, Opsonat for chronic inflammation of mucous membranes. Subtonsil is a product for a chronic inflammation in the upper respiratory area. They have other ones for general detoxification. So based upon the assessment of the whole person, these can be combined to stimulate the drainage of toxins from specific areas. I want to make the point that these are just certain products in the Pecana line that may be used in chronic UTIs. This is not a chronic UTI protocol for everyone. I know if I make a video and I say, this is just an example of something that can be done, but it's not a protocol for everyone to follow, I'm still going to get that email from someone who's like, I saw this video, so I was following your protocol. Listen to what I say. The pictures are a little bit there just to keep people's attention. Isopathics are another type of product that I would often use in these sort of situations. They're not really well known, but they're pretty strong and actually, they're very good. So these come out of Germany. What these isopathics are is they're made from minute amounts of either fungus or bacteria. They're not probiotics, so they're not living. So these are metabolites made by fungus or bacteria. And they're essentially inert. So if you take them, then what this does to the body itself, it really doesn't do anything. What happens is the immune system sees this stuff. So you're triggering an immune system response. So Roquefort or Roquefsan, that first one, this is very good to rebalance the gut flora. It's something that could be used with probiotics to get a stronger response. Nodasan for chronic infections. Firmisan, that's better for chronic inflammation of mucous membranes. So that's something else that could be used for either leaky gut or UTIs or arthritis. Depends on how the situation. The one Candida sand that's made from a strain of Candida paraphylosis. It's not made from Candida albicans. but it actually triggers a strong immune system response against different candida. It could be used for other infections as well. But the point is, these are ways to stimulate the immune system to go after things you want it to go after, so it helps to rebalance the flora that might have become messed up from years of taking antibiotics for UTIs. And hopefully after doing this with pecanas or herbs, then someone doesn't need to go back to the antibiotics because they're not going to continue getting the infections. I actually use more herbal medicine than those compound homeopathics, so sometimes I'll use those pecanas. More often than not, if I see someone with a UTI, I'll probably just give them some herbs. I hate to give out the herbs that I use, and it's not because I don't want to tell you what I do. It's that if I'm mixing an herbal formula together for someone, it's very individualized. So I can't say this is what I do for UTIs because there is nothing that I do for UTIs. It's what do I do for my individual clients, and they're all different. But I'll say this about using herbs for UTIs. There are a lot of antimicrobial herbs out there, but you want to think about which are the best ones for you. It's kind of the pet peeve I've developed is, and I mentioned this in other videos, people who have very hot, warm constitutions taking fistfuls of things like garlic or oregano oil, and it kind of just drives me nuts because it's just making them more dry and more hot. It's not necessarily helping them. But there's no shortage of antimicrobial herbs. A lot of times if you want something for the kidneys, like a diuretic, something that increases urinary flow, and that's more of in the acute situation. Again, herbs, you want to match temperature. Don't take hot herbs if you're very hot. But also, for these UTIs, I would consider detoxification. The gut health. Does someone need herbs to move the lymphatic system? Is the liver sluggish? And again, herbs for the kidneys. And those kidney herbs could be ones that are diuretics, like horsetail, or they could be herbs that actually help kidneys function better. I would put gravel root in that, in that category. Things like nettle root, nettle seed. So you can take a diuretic, will flush stuff out of the kidneys, but there are other kidney herbs that will help strengthen the kidneys and help them function better. And you might need both of those, because maybe if the kidneys could work better at their jobs in detoxification, that would help prevent the chance of you getting a urinary tract infection. Okay, that's it for now. I hope this video has been helpful. Goodbye.